And typically when you're talking about doing a back off set, it's after you've done all your working sets, and then you do a couple of lighter sets to kind of burn out the muscles. But what I do, and I've actually found that this sometimes is helpful for me to actually hit heavier loads later on, is to build up to a relatively heavy weight, right? And then instead of going and trying to hit that, do a couple more sets of that, I'll back off, decrease the load by maybe 20% or so, and then do a couple reps at that lighter load, and then in the next set, increase the weight again and do a couple heavy reps again. Hello, Aaron Kubitz, personal trainer, functional aesthetics CC, helping average guys perform better inside and outside the gym. Today's video, I'm going to be going over a deadlift workout that I did a few months ago, just to kind of show you a different way to approach doing your back training. So, as I've showed in some other videos, I oftentimes like to combine back training also with biceps training. So I'm going to be having some biceps training and rowing exercises combined in with the main deadlift workout here, just to kind of get that carryover. Since you're already stimulating that part of the body, you're already stimulating your pulling muscles and your nervous system in that way, so it makes sense to have the carryover or the overflow going to similar muscle groups, so you can benefit from also the cascade of anabolic hormones that are stimulated when you're doing heavy compound lifts such as a deadlift. So for example, if you're going to be doing squats, you could also be doing something like triceps work or something like that, or some sort of upper body pressing exercise to help have that carry over into the upper body from all the anabolic hormones that you are stimulating in your lower body. So on the very first set of this workout, right before I get started with the deadlifts, I'm sitting here almost in a horse stance, right? And I'm doing this breathing like this. And the reason I do that, even though you don't see a lot of people doing this, sometimes they just take a couple deep breaths in. I like to use the arms a little bit more because I find that it actually helps direct, and you get more expansion of the lungs when you're actually using your arms in that manner. The reason I do it is it helps me to focus my mind, focus on what I'm going to be doing, and then also increase power in the exercise. Breathing is often a very underrated part of the exercise thing, especially among new lifters. A lot of guys that I'll be training in the beginning, they get kind of nervous and they're trying to rush through their sets, right? And they're not taking time to breathe, and as a result, they run out of gas prematurely in the set. This is also something that is pretty common with running. When you're running a race, you got the pre-race jitters, you're going out there to run, and all of a sudden you're, a quarter mile down the road and you realize, man, I'm not really breathing that much, and now I'm starting to get a stitch in my side or different things like that. So definitely very important to kind of preset, get in that cadence, get in that, get your mindset and do the breathing, and then just carry that straight into the set so you can follow that same breathing pattern as you're doing your actual lifts. It's also important to continue your breathing after you finish the set, right? So when you set the bar down, if you're breathing heavily during the set, you also want to continue until your breath kind of slows down, until you've recovered your oxygen, because this is anaerobic exercise, right? You're going to be in oxygen debt, so you want to recover that because it'll help you recover faster to get into the next set. Remember, your aerobic system helps to recover the energy for the anaerobic system. Now, breathing is not quite as important. It is still important, but the timing, the cadence of your breathing is not quite as important and quite as vital when you're doing this kind of a workout where you're doing more powerlifting style of training or even a bodybuilding style of training as it would be if you were doing like a running race or if you're doing CrossFit. If you're moving weights at a very fast pace and you got to go from exercise to exercise to exercise without much rest time in between, it is vital that you are keeping track of the breathing and keeping the tempo coordinated with the pace and the movement of what you're doing. Otherwise, you're very likely to run out of gas before you should. Now, as far as the actual workout goes, when you, so I'm going to be basically doing a ladder up, right, with my weights. So you can do straight sets, right, and typically this is how you want to do it in your warm-up. You start off, with maybe even just 135 pounds of the bar, and then add a couple plates, and go up all the way, and then, the percentage increase will decrease as you get closer to your working weight, right? Now, the key here is you don't want to start so far below your actual set, your actual working weight, that by the time you get there, you've done so many sets and reps that you're super fatigued. But you do want to make sure that you're not also just going in there cold and loading up the bar too heavy right off the bat. Not only will this predispose you to injury, but you also won't have enough time for the nutrients and stuff to get worked into the muscles and to have your body, kind of excited to do the lifts, and so you'll probably not be able to lift as heavy as you would if you took the time to warm up properly. So this is also another thing, a reason why you don't always want to be lifting super heavy in that 1 to 5 rep range, because if you do, you're not going to have the endurance as you would if you were doing higher rep sets, which means that just your warm-up might fatigue you to when you get into your heavier loads. So you want to have a interplay between doing heavy sets and higher rep sets and go through periods of doing both of them. Now, one method, and this is the method that I'm going to be demonstrating in this particular video, is to do back off sets, right? And typically when you're talking about doing a back off set, it's after you've done all your working sets, and then you do a couple of lighter sets to kind of burn out the muscles. But what I do, and I've actually found that this sometimes is helpful for me to actually hit heavier loads later on, is to build up to a relatively heavy weight, right? And then instead of going and trying to hit that, do a couple more sets of that, I'll back off, decrease the load by maybe 20% or so, and then do a couple reps at that lighter load, and then in the next set, increase the weight again and do a couple heavy reps again. And that actually I've found, not all the time, but frequently, helps me to lift more total volume or more total weight in my workout than if I had just tried to hit that next set. And oftentimes if I go from one heavy set and then rest a little bit and then go try to do another heavy set, I will miss that set. But if I had done the back off set where I did a little bit lower weight and higher reps, and then went back to do the heavy set, it'll actually help me to achieve that and hit the heavy weight better than if I had just tried to do it with a little break period and then going straight into it after doing another heavy set beforehand. Another thing that's going to be a little bit different in this workout compared to some of my typical workouts, where I like to kind of do a circuit style of training, is that I'm going to do straight sets of one exercise, the deadlifts, right? So I'm going to have my main exercise of the workout is going to be the deadlift, and then I'm going to go into the other exercises. So how I would typically do it is I'd be doing deadlifts, and then I'd be doing some sort of pull-up or a row or an abdominal exercise or whatever, and then biceps curls, and then go back and do my other set. Now the primary reason I'm doing it this way is because I'm not at a commercial gym where they have, lots of racks of dumbbells and all this kind of stuff, right? And I have a limited amount of weight to work with, so I don't want to take the time to strip the weights off and then put them back on. So instead, I am, doing all my deadlift sets and then strip the weight off, do my, my rowing and do my biceps curls that way instead of, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the other advantage of doing this that I've found is that while, because every exercise you're doing is going to take a little bit of energy away from your workout, right? And so that's one of the primary reasons why they say start your workouts with your compound movements of deadlifts, squats, bench presses, overhead presses, things like that, because those exercises use a lot of different muscle groups at once, meaning that they're also going to deplete your energy stores, your phosphocreatine stores, your ATP and stuff like that, much faster than doing isolation work. So you want to make sure you get them first in the workout so that when you have the most energy available, and then when your energy isn't quite as high, you can do those isolation exercises and those multi-joint exercises, which don't require as much energy, and it's kind of the perfect flow there, right? Now, sometimes, though, if you want to kind of evenly distribute it, evenly spread it out, then you can do that circuit style where you're doing deadlift, row, or pull-up, and then biceps, curls, abs, that kind of stuff, and then come back again, right? And this way, you'll be a little bit, you'll have depleted a little bit of your energy. However, that you will provide, several minutes of recovery time before you come back to the deadlift, right? And so there is the benefit there. However, I have found that doing just a straight sets of the deadlift sometimes allows me to lift a little bit slightly more in my deadlift than if I was alternating back and forth between exercises, simply because I have more total energy available for that. So that's what I'm doing in this workout, although the primary reason for doing it was just because I didn't want to take all the time to strip off all the weights, put them all back on, strip them all off, put them all back on, and makes the workout a little bit more efficient. guys, so there you have it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. You found some value out of it. If you did, hit that like button in the lower. Hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more content related to workout design for building muscle, athletic performance, especially like hybrid athlete type stuff, this is something that I'm getting into more. Hybrid athlete, if you're not familiar with that, is where you combine almost more powerlifting or bodybuilding style workouts with aerobic endurance type training. So maybe you're doing squats in the morning, you're doing running in the evening, or squats in the morning, you're doing biking in the evening, deadlifts in the morning, running in the evening. If you're doing, pull-ups, biceps, rowing, all that kind of stuff, and then you're doing swimming later on, that can also be the hybrid style. So the idea is to kind of develop a well-rounded athlete who is not just a specialist in one area. Maybe you're not the biggest bodybuilder, the strongest bodybuilder, or the strongest powerlifter, or the best long-distance athlete, but you can do it all reasonably well. And I think for the average person, that is probably the best way to be. You're going to be overall more healthy. You're going to feel better as well. You're going to have more energy from the aerobic stuff, and then you're going to just feel solid and strong from doing the strength training. So there's that. I also do training for, how to eat and work out for fat loss, for building more muscle, how to prevent injuries from occurring, and if they do occur, how can you work around those injuries and still continue to make some progress and prevent from losing progress in the gym. And if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, beneficial for you, and in line with your particular goals, consider subscribing to the channel by hitting the button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll see you all next time for more health and fitness information.